Somehow the third billed actor on this movie.
With hair.
Well,
With hair.
and he was originally going to be James Williams, the
Desolation.
Whoa, this is good trivia that we need in the pod.
Whoa!
Our 3 viewers want to hear that.
Whoa, 69.
When they make it.
There's only 4 of us here.
Halfway through.
That's true.
I mean, it's true. I don't watch our podcast.
Yeah, I don't watch it, but I do subscribe to it. Welcome to another very spooky episode, of the Epic Movie Podcast. We're your hosts, Bryce Dillon, Mason, and Nathan.
Throw some respect on Anthrax.
Yeah, Anthrax died so that this movie could exist, okay? On today's episode, Nathan, what are we talking about?
Ghosts of Mars.
Ooh.
Did you pick this, Nathan?
So I picked it, but I only picked it because Dylan said that I should pick it.
Yeah.
So I had put on there Ghost Transportation. I thought this movie was called like Ghost Train of Mars from what you were saying.
Oh, well,
originally.
It is on the train.
What I had in mind for that slot was actually going to be a movie called Ghost Ship.
Yeah.
I
Also
still need to
banger.
rewatch that.
There's ghosts everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, for my money, I'd probably go Ghost of Mars over Ghost Ship, but Ghost Ship is...
I mean, no, we'll get into it.
We'll get into it.
This is very much a me movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you said you hadn't watched this, and I had watched this, I'm like, well, that just doesn't make sense. So
you'd never seen this?
No.
This is his first watch.
Yeah.
Crazily, this movie came out
in the window
in 2001.
Yeah.
Which means that this is in this part of this century.
That time,
right? Like
the time you were watching movies too.
It's in the time when I was watching movies, but this is a movie that would have been made in the 80s.
Yes.
Ice Cube said that they got done dirty because he said the effects. He said this in when the movie came out. He was like, the effects look like something from the 80s or 90s.
Yeah.
So
that's
he
great.
was upset. I'm just saying even he was upset.
Yeah.
That at least gives me hope that 80s style cinema can be resurrected 20 years later, maybe
well, this is not the
years
poster.
later?
Well, this is not the poster child for it because this movie sucks.
No,
but I don't even know if it sucks yet because I don't know what this movie's about.
Well, we would, but you interrupted. So, anyways, Nathan, what's this movie about?
Well, we've got basically a group of. Well, I'm not going to do the whole flashback thing. We can get into that if we want to.
It's
It's a pretty small part of this, so I'll just go with what the story is through the actual.
What the movie actually is, yeah.
You got a group of cops that are going to retrieve a man from a prison in a mining town.
Yeah.
Desolation Williams.
He killed 3 men.
Yeah, I mean,
I never said I was innocent.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they go to this mining town to pick up the person that is going to be standing trial back at the capital city, and it's a ghost town. This is supposed to be a thriving mining town. They get there's not a soul to be found. And as they kind of start digging into this town, the reason for that pretty quickly unveils itself to being the most Mad Max looking people around. This is heavily Mad Max.
This is Cannibal Tribe meets Mad Max.
Something so stupid about this movie though is that when they get there, there's no one there. It's a ghost town.
Yes.
And then an hour after their arrival, the cannibals are jumping out of the woods and taking over the town.
Well, they
did they just hide?
They didn't realize people were in the town. They thought they had cleared the town out already.
Yeah. They're out there partying in the sticks.
And they were out there chanting and having a big speech. The big leader guy was talking to all of them whenever
Danzig or whatever his name is.
Yeah, whenever Jericho climbs up over the hill of heads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did they establish that? Or are you just inferring
no, I mean,
that?
you just take that from the movie.
On.
Yeah, they cleared out the city. Everybody's already decorated
They don't
up.
really see that there's many people at all left in the town. There's a couple of people that were in jail. There was one person that was trapped in a storage closet.
Yeah.
There are very few people there that they found until the point that Jericho follows somebody that apparently had killed the captain of their team
off screen.
And put her head off screen. They couldn't figure out where she had gone. He finds this person that's got her head, and then he climbs up over the hill following where she runs off to see hundreds of people just like
Wow.
chanting and going wild and cutting each other up and stuff.
The first time it's like 20-ish people.
I was gonna say, you say 100, there might have been 25.
There was a
the
small
first
classroom
time.
the first time it's there, and then throughout the movie they
Which-
start multiplying out.
No, and it's weird because every, like, I don't know, 20 minutes, Ice Cube gets a hold of, like, I don't know, some Uzis and some, like, MP40s.
Yeah.
Just blasts everything. The whole team does. to be
Lasts
honest.
about 50 people out.
And then there's 50 more that pop up, and it's like, it multiplies in a weird, worse way. Like,
Yes.
you think that the number should be, like, dividing itself, but then there's more, like the train scene, which
Well,
we, you know.
here's where you can rationalize it.
Yeah.
Here,
This
They made
this
it canon.
like cloud of ghosts has
yes.
been like
Rationalizing.
that started somewhere else
Yeah.
and has been like on the move
Mhm.
via the wind and
Okay.
has reached this town, right?
Yeah.
No,
Well-
no, incorrect. I watched the movie. No, she was down. The archaeologist musketeer
The doctor.
lady was down in like the crypts or whatever, and then
Yeah.
there was that spooky door.
The cap-
comes out.
And then she was like, "I wonder what this does." And then she
Touch.
opened it, and then all the like.
Yeah,
the
right.
goop
Yeah,
came
but
out.
what I'm saying is the like the cloud of ghosts. That same scientist
Oh, that
says
she-
that
you're
they're
pointing-
being
yeah,
carried
post
by the
that.
wind
Mm,
Yeah.
further.
okay.
So that's why they're heading in that direction. That's why she was in a dirigible, also just riding the wind.
A word you don't get
in
to
that
use
direction.
often, dirigible.
A what? Interdirigible?
A dirigible.
Yeah, it's like the
That sounds
Crafted-
esoteric. I don't know what it is.
air balloon. No, so anyways, the movie's plots at plots, but I want to talk about. Okay, so there's a couple things I need to talk about. First of all,
Just a couple?
the sexual energy between Natasha Hestridge and Jericho, who's
It's hot.
Statham. Yeah,
It's,
It's
weirdly
very.
hot.
What do you mean? It's very one-sided.
it's so one-sided.
It's so aggressively one-sided.
What I love about this movie, and this is its 80s nods, but it didn't go all the way with it because Natasha didn't get totally naked in this film. And I'm not saying that it was necessary, it would have been a nice bonus. But, you know, in 80s films, if you were hot and you were a woman, you got topless in a film.
Oh yeah.
No question.
Or you at least got with the main or
Yeah,
secondary
you
main
hooked up.
character.
I did think it was funny by the tail end of this movie. It was like, all right, we're just gonna give her like a panty shot where she gets stressed or whatever, and she's got like a near very like tight closed one. And I'm like, just show her naked. She'd do it. She's done it in other movies. Like, wouldn't get do it for Ghost of Mars, I guess.
So I feel like one thing we've got to kind of cross here is like this movie is actually kind of meant to be a comedy,
Yeah.
but not strongly so.
No.
And that's something that the director John Carpenter actually said about this movie is he feels like in retrospect he didn't go far enough with making it more obviously a comedy.
Yeah.
Like he was annoyed at the time that everybody was bombing it because he's just like it's called Ghost of Mars. It's a
campy as shit.
ridiculous
Like,
premise.
yeah.
It's super campy, but
Yeah.
you all don't see it as.
Why are you
being
guys
that-
taking this
like,
so seriously?
Because at the time, people were judging it as being like a serious movie,
Yeah.
and we're just like, this is a terrible movie because it's so
Well,
ridiculous.
The
And
only
it's got
part-
a good plot line too.
The only part I saw was like really campy was the last shot, like between.
Oh
Ice
yeah,
Cube
that
and-
was
Well,
that was like super.
Yeah,
campy.
That's the
Oh,
only part I
man,
saw.
Cam.
Everything else seemed very
get some.
played
Yeah.
straight.
Well, it was just very like '80s action movie.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, it was definitely.
It was more
that.
80s action movie than comedy. But, like, again, if you think about it from a certain perspective, they're like, all right, you're John Carpenter. You're making a movie, like, that's, I guess, being faced as, like, an 80s action movie meets kind of, like, bad B horror movie, right? But you want the bad B horror to be more funny than it is, but the chemistry gets all out of whack. Too much pepper, not enough salt here. And they're like, okay, well, how do I make that clear? What's Ice Cube doing? And you threw Ice Cube into this movie, and you can't tell me that this man was like, Ice Cube was the best choice for, like, what I'm trying to get across with Desolation Williams.
Well, it was gonna be Jason Statham.
Yeah, I
originally.
know, I'm
I'm
kinda
you know,
glad it
you
wasn't,
know
though.
the reason it was switched to Ice Cube is because Ice Cube was a more well-known
actor at the time.
At the
yeah,
time.
because I remember thinking, this is 01 Statham, so
'Cause
he's
then
not hot.
After
Yeah.
after this movie, Statham takes
like they
a
wanted
role.
more
Yeah.
star power, so
Yeah,
they
so
put
they got Ice Cube.
instead of Jason Statham
Yeah.
for this like secondary character.
This
Yeah.
this created like I don't know, something sparked in Statham's head because every role after this, Statham is that guy in every single
Yeah.
movie he ever.
Ghost
like
of
Death
Mars
Race,
defines his career.
Yeah,
like,
it's like Transporter.
Well, and Ice Cube is very much the same guy in this movie as he
Yeah.
is in a
As in
lot
all
of
the
things.
other
He's
stuff.
playing the same character.
he's playing effectively Craig from Friday, just a little
Yeah.
bit in Mars.
Or are we there yet?
Yeah. I think the other flip side of this, though, is when we're talking about... God, when we're talking about tone, some of the dialogue, like, they play it straight, but if you're listening to what they're saying, it's like, what? I remember early on, and I made this joke to Price while you guys were talking. Those were like, at the very beginning, they're like, we're going to pick up Desolation Williams, which for the record, Desolation, what a fucking name.
That's a cool name.
Yeah, and then they're like, oh yeah, and then it was like, oh, I heard he killed 3 people. Then I'm like, 3 people gets you the name Desolation.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Also, that earns you the right of, like, high protection prisoner. Like,
yeah.
I feel like
this
our
guy
jail has that many.
I don't
Yeah.
know. Mars is you got.
Maybe there's like 10 people.
There's
That's
not,
like a third of the
there's
population.
probably
true.
not that many people on Mars. Like,
That's true.
if the Expanse is anything to go by, the society that would be built on Mars would be very different from Earth society because of the need to work together or you
Yeah.
die.
Mhm.
Or
So the
you're
idea that anybody would be killing anyone else on Mars
It's
would be
pretty
a pretty
bad.
big deal.
I can see
High
an argument
security.
there, but I do think they like if you're paying attention to the kill count of Desolation on the train, they say 3, and then later they say, oh yeah, he ended up killing 6 different people based on like the charges for the postal thing and shit like that, right? Which obviously he didn't do, allegedly. Although a funny note that I think like really does translate is the moment where he's just like, oh yeah, so anyways, I was going to go get some lunch, and it's showing the flashback, and it's him whipping out a shotgun
like
about to pull into this
I
lunch.
love that flashback because he's
So
just
good.
like, oh, this like the system's like kind of stacked. Like it's just very
It's
much
against
just
me,
like,
man. I would
no,
never do
I didn't
anything.
do anything like that. And
Also,
it
Ice
flashes
Cube.
back to him with a shotgun, getting ready to like rob a place.
And he's so eager too.
Yeah.
Like you can see the giddiness on his face. Like I'm about to rob the shit out of this. Oh shit, this ain't right. Like yeah. So for what it's here's the thing though, and I'm asking a question for everybody. Does this movie like in tone? Does it work for you?
No.
No, Price. Nathan.
That's an emphatic no.
it's very funny.
Yeah, Mason.
This movie does not feel an hour and 20-something minutes long. I don't know how long it was.
It's about an hour and a half. Yeah.
It doesn't feel that long, really, because they don't spend too much time in between Anthrax and Tribal Chants and, like, Kiss Face, makeup, like, craziness. I don't even know what that dude was called, but
Danzig.
every time I thought he was about to come on, a lot of music was about to start playing.
As soon as you saw him, you were like, Danzig's about to start playing. Like, I know it's Anthrax. But...
The energy of the main bad guy was, I think, in a good spot.
Oh, yeah.
And it was funny that so I had subtitles on, and in the subtitles, every time he was talking, it would just say, like, Martian speak.
Yeah.
I was like, what does that mean?
What is it? Translated, though.
Like, Martian speak.
Ah!
But then, they eventually do have the moment where she gets infected by one of the spirits, and she has all those, like, kind of flashbacks, and they're just like,
she's going through a fever dream.
Did you all catch what they looked like? What the Martians looked like?
Yeah, they were
weird,
like
long-armed,
looking,
like turtle people or something to me.
I remember whenever she was under there for a minute. But yeah, that was...
Speaking of, I want to talk about the one scene where they're on the train going there, establishing all the characters, and she takes the drug for the first time.
Yeah.
And she's like, it looks like she's in so much pleasure, and then there's like
she definitely
the flashback.
Comes. It's coming.
The flashback with the ocean and everything.
Yeah.
I was like, this seems very explicit.
That was something on this watch that I like. I watched this a lot as like I probably have seen this movie like I don't know a dozen times as a teenager for no reason. Like it just kept coming on. Like it wasn't like I sought it out. It just kept being on. But I remember thinking like that didn't register to me on this one, and I'm like, this girl's fucking coming. All right, hell yeah, like busting.
That's what it seemed like. Busting.
Yeah, she's like, takes
There's got to be a reason she's taking this damn drug anyway.
Yeah, like she's just taking E and having a good ride.
She is on the
yeah.
train.
What I think is the most funny though is that they were like, oh yeah, she's like infected, and they're like, oh wait, is this her medicine? And they're like, oh yeah, knock that into her, nothing's gonna survive that. These poltergeists of Mars, who would win?
Can't handle a little E.
A little bit of E. And she's just like, let me vomit that ghost up real quick.
That should have been the piece of information that they took back with them, like,
yeah.
these illicit drugs
Everyone
will stop
takes
this
this.
problem.
Yeah.
Oh my god, peak moment I almost forgot until we talked about getting high. The fucking Dose, the brother, or he's sitting there, and he opens the can for the girl.
Or
Well,
Dose.
he's got the
Dose. It's the
machete, and he's
Latino.
like,
Oh,
trying
he's
to
like,
be
oh, yeah,
aggressive to
let me-
defend the It's such a throwaway moment, but
Dude.
it is really funny.
No, it's
That
so
one
good.
was funny.
That was. I was like, "There's no fucking way Price doesn't laugh at that."
Like, he's trying to be hard.
He's
and
oh
he's
yeah, I
just
got
like,
you.
yeah, here you go.
And it's just blood squirting.
and everybody's laughing at him.
Yeah. And he's like, "That's what you get, you dumbass." And he's all like toned up on the high. Like, You know what? John Carpenter was on. John Carpenter can do funny more than we give him credit for.
Something else I like. The one thing I did want to make sure I gave this movie credit for is there was one scene that I really liked where the doctor archaeologist lady's like giving exposition or something, and the camera kind of zooms out, and you're like, why is it like zooming out from her while she's talking? They're in the jail hallway or something, and it zooms out a little bit, and it holds the frame. And like she just keeps talking, doing her monologue or whatever, but like the door, like you see it slowly like turn and then very slowly open. And I was like, I like that.
Yeah,
that's good narrative
that
telling.
Was cool.
Yeah. Like that's in fact maybe a great example from a notoriously bad movie about show don't tell. Right.
And then the next scene, like a guy pops out like,
Dude, the transitions. I guess this speaks back to like the '80s, like action, whatever. But like the transitions and the scene changes in this were insane. like there was at one point our main girl was like looking through some binoculars from like, I don't know, 150 yards away.
Yeah.
And it shows what's the guy's name? The kiss face dude?
Danzig.
Sure. It shows him, and he just looks at it.
Yeah, he looks directly.
He's not even looking through binoculars at that point either. It's just him looking at the camera.
Which, important note, because up until this point, I started wondering if their eyesight wasn't as good, because in the Jason Statham scene, when he's at the top of the hill, and it seems like at the bottom of the hill, not that far, is the storage shed.
Yeah.
And he starts running away from them.
He gets away scot-free.
They are right there. He's like, what feels like 20 feet away, kicking this door in, and then they gets in, and they're just like, must have been nothing.
Yeah. It was in like Splinter Cell, and it's like, oh, and they're like, we must have just heard something.
I'm sorry to bring this back that we were talking about earlier, but the sexual tension between Jason Statham and Blonde Lady or whatever. The one part where they meet the monsters and they're all sitting there like, man, we're all gonna die here, aren't we? Mm-hmm. And then Jason Statham's like, I got a secret plan, but I need only the blonde lady. Yeah. And then he locks her in there, and he's like, well, this place is pretty comfy, right? And she's like, Then he's like, I'm making my move now. She's like, okay. And
okay.
Well, and then like right after that, like dumb second in command girl's like, happening. You know what? I'm tired of this dude sitting in here carving on his face. I'm gonna shoot.
I'm gonna
him.
start blasting.
Like even though it's been well established, they understand that the ghosts hop possession between bodies, and that like that like cuts off their intimacy with her now getting possessed and then getting thrown out.
Yeah, which I think is like...
Which is, I mean, like, that's a super stupid thing on her part, but that is, like, exactly what needs to happen for the story, and also it's just, like, that's exactly the kind of thing that would be, like, cliche thing
There couldn't have been more convenient moments in this movie, because, like what I'm thinking of is maybe, like, the last 25 minutes or less.
Oh, those
battles. That's worth talking about.
Oh my god. Like, I mean, they don't mind chopping people off. Like the guy that's like holding fast at the door. He gets like his leg cut off or his arm cut off.
It's his arm cut off, and then his head gets cut off.
Yeah,
because they're just throwing saw blades.
I mean, that's not the only that girl that shot the dude. She got very unceremoniously just has her head just like lopped off and just fall to the side.
Yeah,
but that's what I'm saying. Like just for convenience sake, and because where did we start with this movie? And from a narrative point, she is the only one who makes it back.
Oh yeah.
So like. At that moment, right before the big battle scene, I'm sitting there, I'm like, man, there's only 15 minutes left. Like, no one has to make this, right? Like, no one's going to
They're going to Suicide Squad, right?
Yeah. And sure enough, they just go blasting through to get to the train, and everyone dies.
Yeah.
Like
in like 2 seconds.
Yeah, Jason Statham just gets, like, piled up on. The girl gets her head chopped off. Mm-hmm. They, like you said, unceremonious.
I remember thinking it was really funny, though, that it was like, they're out, they're free, and I'm like, there's 20 minutes left on this film. What happens again? And then they're like, we got to go back. And they're like, we could set off a nuke, but then things didn't go according to plan.
Yeah.
And then it was just like, man, I hate that we just wasted 20 minutes in killing everybody.
Big surprise, a nuke doesn't stop ghosts.
Yeah. They're like, why do we care? Nuke us, bro. Like...
Yeah.
Because, like we, talking about getting towards the end, we then get to the final part where the beginning dovetails back into the end, where we've got the whole thing where she's being debriefed, and they decide to send her off to like go and rest, and then wouldn't you know it, they're suddenly under attack, and all hands to stations, get your weapons, and then Ice Cube,
our real hero,
Desolation
for no reason whatsoever, somehow knows exactly where she is.
Goes to the capital city.
Here, have an Uzi.
Yeah, and brings out 2 chromed out Uzis that I've never seen a shinier gun.
Yeah,
and throws it at her.
My favorite part about all of that, narratively speaking, is Desolation Williams before the train. I ain't going to that city. They're going to arrest me. 20 minutes later, I'm here in the city. I found you. Things got crazy.
He also
Here's a
called it
shiny
hell.
gun. And then they have the campy, like, you should be a cop. You should be a cook. Nah. And it just feels like Mortal Kombat, just like, of that time. Just...
It's so many, like, I don't know, examples.
There's lots
of, like,
of little nods.
Well,
yeah.
he just wants to be a gangster, and I think that's how he's written. Of course, that's just how Ice Cube is,
Right,
like, in most
yeah.
of the things. But it's
He's
like,
probably less gangster, and then when they put Ice Cube in, they're like, he just got...
yeah, he's gonna have to do whatever
He's
he
gonna
wants
have
to
to
do,
do
and that's
whatever
why we
he's
hired him.
Yeah.
And, but he is like every moment he got, he was just trying to act hard,
Yeah.
like harder than someone who just only killed 3 people.
Damn,
Should've
I
been
like you
acting.
already. Punches her out. Which,
Oh my god.
Which, I'm like, yo, Sonya Cage or like, whatever, what's her face? Sonya Blade, effectively, from Mortal Kombat. It's not the same actress. But,
Yeah.
No, that's Veronica Vaughn. Put some respect on
shut
her.
up. Anyways, by the time it's all said and done in this movie, she, like, saves the rookie, and then he just punches her out. And I'm like, that's embarrassing, bro. Like, I would...
Well, she gets a good lick on him, has him like dead to rights with
Yeah.
like anything she wants.
My-
'Cause there's 6 people standing around her.
Also, here, let me paint a picture. Here's Ice Cube, here's Natasha Andridge. They fight, and then the guy over here, with at least a good 10 feet,
Yeah.
drops his guns because they're fighting, and then he knocks her out after doing a banger line, and then he says, when the scene returns, oh, he got my shotgun, he was too fast
He
for
was
me.
too fast.
Well,
Yeah.
they do, like, he conveniently is very fast at a lot of moments
Yes.
in this movie.
Yeah.
It's never on screen, but there's a lot of times that he gets away with something just because he was too quick.
Because he's
Like, he
he's
escapes
wittier,
the jail
yeah.
cell because he was too quick, too, right?
Oh, also,
Yeah.
they just walk into the jail cell to go. All his whole gang
I mean,
gets them.
that was
They walk
also
into the
really
jail
good.
cell, and then they just leave the cops outside to lock them back
That
in.
was a very Andy Griffith like.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You could hear the like foghorn leghorn noises in the background of it, and it's just like, wow, these guys, man. Yeah.
We haven't talked about the music directly yet.
The
And
rec-
I got sick of it.
So there's one
it is
song.
made by Anthrax.
It
No,
is definitely
the
no, I-
actual band.
yes.
I
was
don't
the one
care. That
composed
doesn't
it.
help when every single musical
Dun.
note in it is just
Dun,
metal
dun.
guitar.
Yeah.
I get pretty sick of it pretty quickly.
So-
There's just no variation.
No, there isn't. But I will say this movie reminded me a lot of Queen of the Damned, mostly because of that.
Mm.
Now, granted, this had a better storyline in my opinion, but
Probably
Queen of the
better
Damned had better music.
Yeah, well, they actually played a whole song, whereas this song, I mean,
Yeah,
I'm with Bryce
this
on
was
this. It was maybe
basically
5 guitar
they
riffs.
They hired Anthrax to do background tracking for a movie, and not to actually compose any original
No.
music for it, really.
Which is the mistake.
Which, like, to be like, hey, hair metal band, score my movie.
Yeah.
It's kind of like.
But nothing too
You gotta
serious.
be in for that. Apparently, whenever he was like concepting the whole thing and like kind of working through it, he was listening to Metallica the whole time. So that's what his vision probably originally was, that it would be like scored by Metallica.
But they
kind
were
of.
busy, so he had to call Anthrax and say, "Can you guys
They
just
wanted
make?"
too much money.
Okay, this makes sense. So John Carpenter was listening to Metallica, couldn't get Metallica, calls Anthrax and say, "Hey, Anthrax, can you guys do Metallica?" They're insulted, but they want the money, so they're like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, we can do Anthrax."
Yeah, I guess.
we can do Metallica, and then they phone it in because they're like, "This motherfucker called us in to do Metallica." Dun, dun, dun. Like, which, if it was made in the part, if there was a, this is one of those movies I would actually watch a making of, just because I want to see that storyline play out. Like Anthrax is like, this motherfucker.
You mentioned that on the bonus tracks of the DVD, they do have where you can see them like composing the music, and John Carpenter and Anthrax like being in like the same room,
studio.
like,
Yeah,
kinda, like
right.
figuring out what they want.
Anthrax, can you sound more like Metallica, please? Thank you. Can I get Ride the Lightning out there and then don't do that?
Can we get your softest hit right now, please?
Yeah.
How about
Light
you
it
do
up.
you do your take
Yeah.
on one?
Yeah, exactly. Duh.
It's like they,
Duh, duh.
I feel like Anthrax can't be slow.
No, they're
Like they are thrashy.
they are too thrashy. Like, yeah. So
Something could be said though. From every single time you heard the music, you knew something was gonna happen.
yeah, action
Like,
engaged.
the
right.
action was
Was about to escalate,
Climbing.
and I don't know that I love that, but I also didn't hate that part of it. I guess.
You know what I will say a little part of the charm of this movie is that I could see other movies in it. Like the thing that I remember thinking was in the beginning of the movie, before you see the spookies, right? So when it's like objectively the scary movie.
Sure, the cannibal
Yeah.
maybe possibility. Or
When they're
the-
queuing up for the cannibal stuff,
Yeah.
right? I just remember thinking, like, this really feels like Resident Evil, like the first
Yeah.
one of that one.
Oh yeah.
Kinda has
And
that,
I'm
yeah.
like,
It's got
oh.
some of that energy.
Yeah,
too.
I'm like, this has a lot of that energy, actually. I'm like, I don't hate that. Like, it plays it just straight enough, but it's also just camp enough to have fun with it.
What did everybody think of the visuals? Did this feel like Mars? Did that feel pretty?
If
Everything
Mars
was
is
just
red,
red.
orange, then yeah, man.
Okay. I just now thought of a gripe. Speaking of Mars, they mention very early on, hey, rookies, don't go out there without your oxygen, blah, 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 blah,
Your
blah.
breathers, yeah.
Your breathers. And they put these, okay, you know what, fine. They've incorporated some kind of, like, apparatus.
It's for your eyes. Keeps you...
Fine, whatever. Anyways, at the very end, Ice Cube is not seen wearing anything like that. Is there, like,
Well, he's been on Mars for a minute, though. That makes sense.
She doesn't
Hey,
either.
He's a
No.
Martian native.
Yeah,
They
he's
are
a-
sprinting. All of the group is sprinting. There is not a sunglasses pair in sight.
Listen, they
I don't
couldn't
understand.
afford
I
it.
feel
Why?
like Statham's the only one that consists.
He
of
always
had
one on.
Statham always... Because it's always sitting right here on Statham, right?
Yeah.
Well,
So-
and any time he was outside, he always had those on.
He did. Yeah, he always had the big stupid glasses on.
And they did too at the beginning.
Yeah, and then they just kind of chucked him.
Yeah, I don't.
I choose to believe it's the developing chaos of the movie. Like,
They-
they probably
they-
did have it, but, you know.
Mind over
Martians.
matter, maybe?
Yeah.
Like, or
Yeah,
matter
I don't
over
know.
mind?
Right. I mean, okay. Ice Cube's character makes sense. Desolation, that's his name. Get
Sure.
it right. That one makes sense because it sounds like he's been there for a while. Like, it sounds like he's been on Mars for a minute. And in the beginning, she's like, yeah, it takes a while to get accustomed to it.
What do you guys like? What are your thoughts on the fact that all of the red, like all the way it looked Martian, was because they put food dye all over everything?
Just over the lens of the camera.
No,
Yeah.
like they
No, yeah.
like genuinely. Apparently,
Food
that's
dye,
what they
sand,
did. Is
food
they
dye,
just put like food dye.
They
all
spray like
over
a pressure
everything.
sprayer
Yeah.
with like orange.
Yeah.
Because it was actually like a quarry that's some kind of, I forget what sort of gypsum. White.
Huh.
It's white.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
So they sprayed it all down with food coloring to make it look like Mars instead.
That probably
That's
explains
fine.
the, like the fish lens that's going on for most of the movie. Yeah, because
Yeah.
they needed to. They can't have too much
Had, like,
detail.
the- yeah.
Because the blurred ins are
Yeah.
always going in, and every now and again they would go an extra on that one.
I was fine with the set. I think the set was.
I
was
think,
fine.
I think they did a solid job. Like I liked it. It felt very much like this is what if people had been living on Mars and can like actually genuinely live on Mars,
Uh-huh.
everything they make is going to be like a desert-like structure that is made out of red clay.
It's gonna look
rock
Arizona.
sort of
And their buildings are
Yeah.
gonna look like bunker,
Yeah.
entrances and stuff like that.
One final note, and then we can probably get into the shape of the movie. And this one's a quick one. The vehicle speeds of everything in this movie are hilariously slow.
Yeah.
And it was
The
most
escape scene.
the escape
is
scene,
Really.
the golf cart is moving maybe 3 miles an hour.
Like,
Yeah.
these
And you can
people
tell they're
are-
trying not to just catch
like,
up, but they're
for
right
some
there.
reason, for some reason, a lot of these guys, like, they are in front of them, like, in front
At
of the
several
vehicle at
points,
and
yeah.
they get out of the way. It's like,
What?
if you're the ghost of Mars,
Yeah.
and you have possessed a human because you want to kill the humans
You're
to
just
get them off of
chucking
your
yourself.
planet, I don't think you care if your like meat suit gets
Yeah.
crushed by a vehicle. I
Right.
think you try and grab a hold of that anyway.
Yeah.
So that was very much they just didn't have the budget for like the
Can't do
the
it fast.
stunt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The stunt on that.
Well, or like whenever they were all like poking the train and like hitting it with like metal sticks. I don't know if you guys
It's
remember
going
that.
like
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
this
going like
fast
4 miles an
out.
hour.
And it's
Yeah,
just like, just
nobody
hop on the
tries to
train.
hop on
No,
it or
Yeah.
anything.
not until our main characters are on
Yeah.
there, and then they're like, "Oh, let's put like 4 or 5 zombie
Like
people."
just
in
get a
there.
couple of them on there,
Yeah.
just give them a good scare.
I could jog with that train for probably at least a good half mile
Yeah,
at least,
for
Before-
sure.
and then maybe it picks up around then. But like, it just was like, I'm like, nobody's escaping. What do you mean?
The thing is, like, conceptually, there is, like, I feel like a pretty interesting idea in there being, like, a thing that keeps people from ever being able to live on a planet like that.
Mm.
Like, Ghost is ridiculous, but you could imagine, AI-driven, like, nanobots that
Mhm.
are on a planet that if anybody ever goes there, it's designed to keep you off of it, so it just kills
Yeah.
whatever life and maybe deactivates if you get far
So-
enough away from the planet.
So you're
sort of
saying that the
thing.
nanobots wouldn't create like a cult that like chants tribal things
Yeah,
and,
maybe not. I don't
and
know.
cuts
I
off
mean,
heads and puts them on
depends
spikes?
upon
and-
it depends upon what they trained them on.
Yeah.
Yes.
You can always train AI, which all we know is that
Like,
it'll be racist.
That was the
Yeah.
wildest thing. It's like, yeah, okay, fine. There's a red mist that she unlocked that got released
The Red
into the
Mist looked
wind.
pretty good,
It was
too.
cool,
Yeah.
but like, it's created this like tribe of like random things that just basically, I don't know. It's like part of
That
history.
seemed to really like self-butchery.
It's got a good aesthetic. I think it's an underrated aesthetic.
I mean, it's aesthetically like it does. It's a good look for the movie, but it is very silly. Which I mean, that's all this movie
Part of
is.
it,
Like, you
at the
shouldn't
heart of it,
ever
should
look
be.
at any of this and try and critique it in any serious light.
Yeah.
Isn't that what we're here for?
Nope, couldn't be us.
Not as a serious movie,
I
because
was
it's not a
say-
serious movie.
See, I am, because I did not get the jokey tone that I was supposed to have gotten
well,
from
then
this
I guess
movie.
you're part of the 2001
You're
critics.
2001 critics.
Yeah,
Oh,
because
no.
it doesn't. It just doesn't. To me, it doesn't lend itself to that. I don't think. I think there's a point of being like they're trying to be so coy with the comedy and like being over the top that like it's easy to miss, which is what happened with me. I didn't get that at all until the literal end of the movie.
I was about to say because they couldn't throw it in our,
Yeah, I
our
mean, it
faces.
couldn't have,
bigger,
it couldn't
but-
have been hammier at the end.
Well, that, and I don't know. I would say that, like, if for me, the comedy definitely started hitting maybe around the halfway point after the three amigos got introduced or so, because it was just like you said, the jail cell thing, the cutting off the thumb with the big old machete for no real reason.
That was
Like
so
random parts like that, I was like, God dang, this movie, it's just being stupid now.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
They just, they just started eating paint chips but it didn't kick in until that third way into the movie.
Yeah.
They actually were all possessed. It's just like they were the batch of like not so smart Martians that got a hold of them.
Didn't want them.
The old, really dumb turtle Martians just got them, and they're just like, well, let me just cut my finger off. But Fat, Thin, Perfectly Fit seems like a good transition time. Price.
I figured it'd start with me, and this movie's fat. It seems like they are only inside the building. They're running around in red food coloring desert, and then she's sitting in the courtroom with those people, and it feels like those are the only three settings that are there. They built those, they want to use them to their fullest extent, and it makes the movie feel so long. And they just go through hijinks. They just try to go outside, go back inside, go back outside, inside.
Just like the green room. I kind of got the vibes. Like,
where's
home
where
base?
it's like you've got your home. Like it's that's a very good comparison.
Limited
that's,
set.
That's pretty apt.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely fat.
Could have made the lights red.
Can you do that real quick?
It's not too late.
Yeah, just I'll wait.
You go
I'll
ahead.
stall out. You're right.
Yeah, you go ahead.
I kind of want more. I couldn't tell you where. So for that reason, I'm just gonna say it's fit. I think that this movie, for an hour and a half, hits that runtime really well.
Wow.
Welcome to Mars.
I like that.
Dun.
Ooh.
Can you coordinate it with a dun?
They're gonna tell us. They're gonna tell us we don't have enough lighting.
It's
Yeah,
true.
that's what I'm trying to bring.
Yeah.
Make the light bulbs go boom.
Dun, 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 dun. Yeah. Anyways, no, this movie, I think it's fit. Yeah, when we're talking runtime to size, it definitely doesn't feel like it's a drag for me. There's some stuff that I just had. I don't know. I had fun with the runtime with it, so I could see an argument of almost it being like, could I have wanted more? I'm like, yeah. If you had said, all right, we have a gratuitous sex scene with Jason Statham in it, why not, man? I mean, he has sex
We've
with
only
the
ever
Meg
seen-
and Meg 2, so
Does he really?
did you watch it?
No.
With the with the shark.
Yeah.
He does in Crank. I remember that.
Yeah, he has one in
Yeah.
Crank. So
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
right
on
on
if you told me
Like
that they had
Postal-
Ball field or something.
I think it's on the
no,
the
it's like on the
mailbox.
sidewalk on the mailbox next to the
Yeah.
restaurant.
Next to the bus. Remember the bus
Oh,
is
yeah.
there and all the people are watching him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, this movie could have had some extra hijinks, and maybe to that point, maybe it would have solidified the tone a little bit better, but, I mean, for just intensive purposes, I'll say it's fit.
We're going to make Nathan determine the tie here because I think this movie was thin.
Ooh.
I wanted more, but I wanted way less of, like, the tie into the beginning and all, like, the narrating thing.
Yeah,
Like,
the matriarchy roles
yeah,
and all that
because-
stuff.
I mean, I understand that this is supposed to say, like, oh, yeah, by the way, we've inhabited Mars, roughly this many people are there, the same rules as Earth, blah, blah, blah. They could have just started with that. They didn't need this. I
They
didn't
could
know
have
what she
cold
was.
opened,
Like, the head of the Senate. I have no idea what she was. The council.
So the reason he added that in was because he thought that he needed, like, it would help not make his female leads seem as though they had to, like, justify being the leads.
Okay.
Like, if it was a matriarchy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a
So
good
that's
different
the
flavor.
reason why
So that's
he
good.
took that tack.
This is a woman, this is a world governed by women, so that's why
Yeah.
the women are the leaders
Okay.
on this one.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Because to me, before you said that, all it did was let you tie that cheesy line into the end where Ice Cube just randomly shows up and throws a gun at her.
Yeah.
Like,
It also feels like a weird reason for them, for like a lot of the women to be either kind of butchy or like implied to be, or just straight up gay. Like the
Yeah,
captain
that's
was just
true.
straight
Yeah.
up hitting on Natasha Hendricks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And it's just like, well, now that we rule, all right, well, we don't lie, we've all been gay.
Well,
this whole time.
Jason Statham said he's like one of the few
Yeah.
leaders or something.
Right.
Yeah, he does mention that, which is a throwaway line, but I guess it does kind of like
Deeper
lean itself
implications.
into more lore.
Yeah.
for this,
Ooh, lore?
Man, that's what I want.
Hey, you know what? That's
I mean, we know that that's your favorite thing in movies.
It's true.
Just like
and
me.
board games.
Yeah. That's true.
And board
I was
games.
reading a TI lore for a while before I was like, guess I just lose. Anyway, Nathan, so what is this movie?
I mean, it should have leaned more into the comedy for sure. I think that would have made it hit better. I mean, the director said as much, and I think that's definitely true because where it's funny, it's more entertaining. The Anthrax track is
The single.
is a little too one note. Yeah, like that. Like I think it is actually different songs, but Anthrax to me, like I don't really like them that much, and I feel like
Oh,
a
neither.
lot of their stuff is very samey.
Same.
So, like I know I've like mentioned them a lot and like talked about that a lot during this review, but that's not because I'm a fan.
Yeah.
That's just who
That's
did
an
it.
observation, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're a lot like Offspring in that way, where it's like they've got
They got
one.
a sound.
They've got a yes.
Yeah. I feel like Offspring has way more variety though.
I do too.
Like that era, if you were a thrash metal band in that era, almost every song that you made, the only thing that changes is just like where your tempos break.
Yeah.
Not so much like the core of your music.
Wait,
the solo
we're,
sounds
we're
different.
getting off topic here.
We
What's
are,
the
we
shape
are,
of the
we are.
movie?
I mean, I don't know.
You're deciding.
Probably a little thin.
Yeah!
All right,
That's
that's
what I
the
would
right
like.
answer.
What I would like is more of the like tomb and stuff. Like I
Yeah,
feel like
that
that
would've
would have
been
been
cool.
cool.
Yeah.
I wanted some turtle people.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Like
Instead
Yeah,
of her opening
more-
it up.
Yeah.
like more turtle people. Like maybe have the flashback a little longer, show a little bit more. That would have been kind of cool.
Uh-huh.
And then just more stuff in the tomb. Like nothing big. Just make it
2 or
punch
3
up
extra
the funny
minutes
a little
each.
bit.
Yeah.
Add a little bit more background and interest to like what's going on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
Just this week I started playing a game called Moons of Madness, which is is it Moons of Madness? I think it is. Yeah, it is.
Okay.
And it's about being on Mars while like there's this colony that's been established, and it's very Lovecraftian horror on Mars,
Mm-hmm.
where the two moons are like watching Mars, and they're like beings actually, and they're not just moons. It's
Too
It's
scary.
been interesting.
Spooky.
It's funnily enough quite related to this movie.
So you
What?
just play Ghost of Mars, the video game.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
whatever happened to the archaeologist lady? I can't remember. She had to have died.
She
She died.
dies.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
don't.
She dies on like that last like 10-minute stretch.
She wanted like the brigade that rushes the train.
She's the
and-
Suicide Squad one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like.
Yeah. Oh no. I forget how she dies exactly, but she's like the one getting them into the facility.
Yeah, she's on the
that
outside.
they're going to nuke.
Okay.
And then they start running, and then I think it's as they're all running, they have them just kind of like one shots in the field. And if I remember correctly, I think she gets beheaded too.
Mm.
Probably.
They really defaulted to the saw blade frisbee kill a lot.
Which is weird because why would a
Miner.
mine like?
Well, you gotta cut the materials. So.
But not with saw
with
blades.
saw blades that you, yeah.
Not with saw
Why
blades.
do you
Listen,
have more spare
Here's
saw
the thing.
blades?
That kind of saw blade is for cutting wood.
Yes.
The kind of saw blade that you could maybe cut rock with.
It's probably
It's-
like
yeah,
the size of a
really
human.
big. Concrete saw blades are way bigger.
What if everybody on Mars is actually gigantic, and those are those saw blades? They're just so big. It's just Attack on Titan.
Yeah.
You know.
Are you ready for scores?
I'm ready for scores.
I mean, gravity's lower. You could be bigger.
You could
Sure.
be. Mason, here we're gonna do a weird ping pong.
Oh yeah,
match.
you want me to go first?
Yeah, lead the way, buddy.
Alright. Well, I'm not gonna lie, I really didn't like this movie that much.
Yeah.
I don't think that it's fun very little throughout, and I think that like the dialogue I wish was better, or like the story was a little bit more firm, because like I would just start to like just not nod off, but just not pay attention as much while they were talking. Some of these one-liners, you would catch some of them, but I swear to you, I know I keep mentioning it. As soon as the music starts to pick up, you're like, okay, they're gonna leave this building.
Yeah.
They're gonna finally get into something. And it
makes it wake up.
Yeah, seriously, that's what my brain was doing because of, I guess, Anthrax.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I don't think that the dialogue was strong enough to warrant the plot. I don't think that the action scenes were anything but kind of funny, because literally Ice Cube would just go through just mowing people down. He might as well have done the Laura Croft crazy.
They have the high ground at one point and throw it away because
he jumps straight down
into the pit of it.
And he wants to be in the action, I guess.
And they spend half the time meleeing with their guns,
Yeah.
and not shooting.
Yeah, that was so dumb.
And they had all that dynamite, and you kept seeing them toss it, but there was
never
nothing happening.
Never a big
really.
explosion. It was just
it was
smoke.
people jumping
Yeah.
out of an area, and that was supposed to be. This. I'm telling you, it's thin because I do like this movie's premise, and I think that it's a fun thing. It's just to have a name like John Carpenter involved. It's crazy to think that
This man did the thing.
Yeah.
And then he followed up with an even better movie, Ghost of Mars.
He also stopped making movies for 9 years after this.
Can't figure out why.
Because he was frustrated with how it was received.
Dude, I was frustrated having watched it.
He was like, I was frustrated for John Carpenter.
I gotta give it a 5.5. I don't
Ooh.
it could have been at least a 1.5 higher if it would have just covered any of those bases. I just if anything could have happened, it would have went up quite a bit. But I don't know. Jason Statham wasn't even that good in it. Ice Cube, I was just kind of annoying.
Oh no, we don't.
But yeah, I don't really know. That's kind of my take on it. It's not that I absolutely hated it, but good lord.
What's to you, Dylan?
I know. I'm just seeing how you're doing.
Yeah. Let me stall.
I watched this a million times.
This movie has a surprisingly good aesthetic for a corny, campy Mad Max 80s.
80s
horror,
and the 2000s movie.
80s and the 2000s horror action comedy.
Behind, yeah.
Horror, comedy, action, which is actually all three of the genres back to back to back in that order. We didn't see the main character get topless, and that will reflect in my score. And we didn't see any dong get hung either, which also does reflect in my score. But the body horror stuff I actually think is actually done really well. I think the aesthetic is good. The setting feels fine. We're in it forever. That's the whole movie. But all things considered, I'm like, I didn't think it was bad. Whenever they're walking through, in the early part of the film, I think it does it more justice because we see the barbed wire and the blades, and they have all the zoom in and setup. And I actually did feel a little bit of tension. I won't lie. I'm like, this movie's a little spooky at the beginning, and then it starts getting ghosty and Marsy, and I'm like, this ain't spooky, but this is fun. So I just think I don't know, and maybe, and I'm certain that it's a lot of nostalgia. I've seen this movie a lot, but this movie I just have a lot of fun with. And,
yeah, for sure.
And catching some of the, she's just doing ecstasy. She's just, busting right now.
Yeah.
Fat busted wave.
Yeah.
And all it takes to get the ghost out of your body is just a big fat O from
just
ecstasy.
a big ol' O.
Yep, big ol' Olorino. And
They don't know how to handle that.
Nope, they're like, oh, that's weird, I'm a turtle.
Before our time.
Yeah, they just peace on out. Statham being the third build is the funniest thing in the world to me on this film, under Ice Cube and Natasha Henstridge.
Featuring hair.
Yeah, also just a weird thought. So overall, I really do enjoy my time with this film. Can you not?
I did that.
You did that. He knocked over the
I
thing.
accidentally pushed that out.
With his big fat foot. Bunyan, put it away. I'll drag Mason's 5.5 up to a score that's
reasonable.
Our average between us is probably where this movie actually is, but this is a 7.5.
Yeah,
dude.
You were an animal.
I had so much fun with this. Every time you hear, dun, I'm simultaneously juiced and laughing at this movie, and just very few movies do that for me.
This is what I was doing when I heard dun.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, we're going outside again.
The train guy. Oh, the train guy's middle name is Marinara. Also, I don't know if anybody caught that.
No, I didn't catch
There's
that.
no way.
Run it back. I swear to God, it's they were like, oh, I'm the train something Marinara something.
I'd rather take a saw blade to the neck than watch this again.
The train was probably called Marinara.
No, it was the dude.
I am bringing these scores back down to hell where they belong, and I'm giving this movie a 1.
Oh, come on.
I hated this movie, and
Dude.
it's just because it's just so boring. boring. I'm so sick of boring movies. I don't know if y'all noticed during this whole podcast, I've just been trying not to fall asleep because I can't think of anything interesting to talk about. Like the soundtrack is like something to talk about because it's like so obnoxious. The characters don't remember any of their names. Dissolution Williams. Okay,
Yeah.
Sick,
notwithstanding.
I don't know
That's a
anybody
sick
else.
name.
It's just so boring.
Jericho.
Like
Jericho.
I think if it's going for a comedy, it's missing in every aspect. If it's going for horror, it's missing in every aspect. If it's going for a drama, I don't even know.
Well, it's not doing
that
that.
tag's not even on there.
No.
But I'm just so tired of seeing this red everywhere. That's all it is. It's like kind of the meme of how if you're shooting something in Mexico, everything is yellow.
Yeah.
I got so sick of that aesthetic. I disagree wholeheartedly that they nailed the aesthetic. I think they had one set, and I think they said, we're going to use this to the ground, and we're not doing anything else, and go in and out and in and out. And, man, I got sick of it. I don't know what you all saw in this movie, but every time I heard Anthrax come on, I did not do like Mason and look up. I was just drooling on myself trying to watch it and say that I watched it for this podcast because, man, this was so boring. But it's better than Possum on the other
Thank
hand.
you.
Because, again, there was some merit to it. I said
No,
that scene earlier that I kind of like Possum, there's no redeeming.
No,
that was
there's not. There's no
piece of
fun
trash.
part of Possum.
There's
At least this one had some one-liners, some
Yeah.
cool like shooting scenes. Ice Cube doing 360,
Nah.
no scopes.
I want an asterisk on Price's One because I promise you those ones are not consistent across the board.
You
we
can
could
look
do-
through them.
I promise you we could do a
Look
tier
through
list of
them.
ones and how many ones are better than 2, 3, or 4s you've given.
We'll do it. We
Awesome.
can go through and look at my ones.
That's
That's
gonna
fine.
Calling them out.
That's
That
a full
is-
episode of
This
it.
one is. I would go lower if I could.
No, you couldn't. You could. You
I
could go to
hated
0.
this
You've
movie.
given 0s before.
Yeah, but this isn't a 0.
Oh, I'd go lower, but I
It's
can't
not.
go lower than 1. But there's
No,
0.
the thing to argue is Price has given plenty of 0s, Possum in which being one,
Yeah.
but like Frontiers, he said is better than Possum,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is a 0. Like
Right.
Fritz the Cat is also a 0.
0.
There's
That's
like
a
3 or
0.
4 total 0s.
Past lives.
Yeah.
Oh,
0. Oh, come get them.
Come on.
All right.
that's what I'm saying.
Talk
That's
about
the argument to
Talk
be
about
made.
a buffet of bland, but Nathan, please
Yeah, Nathan.
continue.
Bring it back, buddy.
Yeah, this is a 7.5.
Yeah.
Oh, you're insane.
This
I trust
is
that one.
solid. This is like, yeah. I mean, this is
I'm offended. It's not
just.
8 for him.
It was
I know.
made 20. Like, I mean, not 20 years after
Yeah.
exactly, but it was made quite a while after the era that it made sense for it to be created in, and it would have fit right in. Like, it really is just that 80s action movie with goofy stuff going on. Like, Arnold Schwarzenegger could have been in this movie, and it probably would have risen at like another point too.
Yeah.
It's
For
desolation.
Yeah. Imagine Arnold
Arnold?
Schwarzenegger as Desolation Williams.
I'm having a great
Whoa.
time.
I'm
Stallone.
here for
Sure.
it.
Yeah, Stallone.
Stallone would've been
one.
Jericho.
Ice Cube
Yeah.
had some
Yeah.
great arms, but he still didn't.
Yeah, he's
Sell
not.
the
He's not yoked
intimidation.
enough. Yeah.
I mean, I did like Ice Cube. Too.
Ice Cube's
Like,
fun. Honestly, I
think,
had fun
like,
with Ice Cube.
it fits in that just like goofy schlockiness of it.
You
of
knew what
just-
you were in for.
I've seen Are
Like,
We
it
There
was-
Yet when I was younger. Ice
Same.
Cube's not intimidating at all.
No, he's not.
To me.
He's not,
No.
and that like I don't think he was in this either.
That's
It was
about
just
right,
very
yeah.
like comedically like, oh, he's the bad guy.
This movie's not a comedy, Nathan.
It is.
It is not a
You
comedy.
missed it.
I laughed.
You
Yeah.
missed it.
If I
You
missed
missed
it, if I
It's
missed
funny
it,
because it does say sci-fi
It's-
slash horror.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Well,
Tomatoes.
but they didn't know. But Rotten Tomatoes is new. They didn't know. They watched the movie and then John
That's
Carpenter
true.
threw a fit at them, and that's why they rated it so low.
That's why.
Yeah.
Sorry, Nathan, continue as
I've
you
already
were.
got it.
Yeah,
So-
I don't see why it gets so much hate.
What's
apparently.
What's the popcorn score?
Yeah, that's the audience score.
That's
which-
a-
I mean, they're identical.
Yeah, 25 and 23 for
We'll let you decide which.
audiences and critics. Pick one.
See how far down the list of genres that Ghosts of Mars falls into before the word comedy
You know
comes
what?
on there.
Okay, so here's a good question for you. Which is better? This is
Look,
a better comedy, or is the Martian a
I
better
think you
comedy?
fixed that list.
The Martian?
The Martian won Best Comedy at like Golden Globes or something.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They want to.
Why? I
Because
see.
of Childish Gambino.
I see there being more comedy in that movie, but I wouldn't call it a comedy.
Well, okay.
I don't know. That one was funny.
It's kind of like Marvel movies.
It
Like
was-
you don't consider them comedies.
No,
but
they learn
you're-
how to romps.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't put
Matt
it in comedy.
Damon just doing one-liners like pretty much.
Yeah,
every
like I'm
other
eating my own
scene.
poop.
It was
or
the most
whatever.
confusing
Yeah.
thing in the world, but I distinctly remember thinking The Martian wins for best comedy on that one. Anyways, let's spin that wheel. Let's see. Mason
I haven't.
Slice
I
coming
haven't
up.
spent
Yeah.
it. I haven't
Spent
Yeah,
it.
spent it.
I
You
haven't.
haven't spent.
Yeah.
Get your wallet out and go spent it.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Ready?
It's gonna be impossible to see on camera.
That
Wow.
was a bad
Maybe
spin.
we need to. There you go. Try it
Wrestling Oscar bait.
Oh,
now.
wrestling Oscar
So
bait.
you wanted to stick with that rule?
Yeah,
It's a red one.
Yeah,
But
that-
I mean,
no,
it was
one.
it was a spin. It was
I don't-
terrible.
Mm.
And if you want to redo the spin, that's fine.
No, it's in.
Okay.
Just
yeah.
said
The spin
on
is
his
in.
own slot.
Uh-huh.
The spin is
Wrestling Oscar bait.
This sounds terrible.
This
I'm already
is
not
in. Is it
excited.
Walking Tall?
no. That's not a
Iron
wrestling movie.
Claw.
It's got the Rock in it.
It's Iron Claw.
Yeah.
I don't know how to watch this movie though. I won't lie to you guys. This is pretty
Is it
new.
not
I don't
Yeah.
either. It's very new.
Listen.
I've
There's
tried watching it before.
there's always ways.
It's out.
It's out.
It is?
It
Okay.
is.
It's been a couple months now. It's probably been out now.
It's out.
Yeah. Okay.
It's available.
Yeah. Great. So we're gonna watch the Iron Claw. Yeah.
Yeah.
We gotta say that at least 20 times
Yeah.
during the review. Yeah.
Anyways, if you like the content we're doing, always let us know in the comments below. What do you think? Is Ghost of Mars a comedy? Is it better comedy than The Martian? Is it a 7.5? Is it a 1? Let us know in the comments below what you think. Is Anthrax trash? But if you like the content, always make sure to hit the big fat thumbs up because we keep going even the extra mile. We went to Mars for you. Look at the set.
Yep.
And we're covered
Halfway
in
through.
food
Covered
dye.
in dust. We forgot to put our glasses.
Hey,
on.
well, we sent
It's okay.
Price
It
to
happens a lot.
we sent Price to the moon whenever
Oh
we
yeah,
did the
you all
Martian
did
review.
send me to Mars that
Yeah.
one time.
Yep.
You brought back the ghost.
Forgot about that. And I got
You
found
brought back
Dobby.
a Dobby.
I found Dobby there.
Yeah, you found Dobby up there.
That was the red mist.
You know, aesthetically, we should re-release The Martian before we release this one to like have the headcanon of why we're in Mars
Yeah.
in the review. Anyways, make sure to hit the bell so you know when that next Mars themed movie comes up. That's our whole podcast. We're the Mars
That's
theme
what we
crew.
do.
Yep.
And if you think about subscribing, don't you fucking dare. Don't you dare. We're at 69 subscribers, and that's just how we like it. Don't you dare subscribe.
We don't need any more.
Also, don't unsubscribe either. I know that was really aggressive. I'm sorry. You're doing great, 69 subscribers. You stay strong, buddies.
You're the OGs.
Solidarity. Until then, guys, we will see you next week with the Iron Claw. Meow.
meow.
Yeah.
Meow.
Yeah.
Man, you all did this review. That just looks so weird. Just 3 people
Yeah.
Oh, was that the
on the
Martian?
couch.
Yeah, that
that's
was the Martian.
Oh man, that one was a fun one.
That was a hot
After
one.
it was all done.
That was not a hot one. It was a blizzard.